All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back here. We're into May 9th. So hopefully you guys had a great call last week with Anthony. He was our guest speaker while I was out fishing, catching more of these guys like the one behind me there. And just a quick update, we caught two more. So the trip was a success. Didn't do quite as good as we thought we might have, but we still brought home the bacon. All right, so let's get into it. I know we're doing this kind of as an open forum, so if you guys have questions, hop right out and let's get to it.
Hey, John.
Hey, Anthony.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going? I'm doing great.
Good.
Little sunburn and
yeah.
That's about
it. I wanted to get back to you. We talked a couple of weeks ago about that site I showed you, that review site. So I figured maybe we could discuss that. And if you want to share my screen, so I can ask you a couple of questions. I tried to implement some of the things we left off on the email correspondence. You said that you thought that this site here, I don't know if you can see my screen or not.
Go ahead and hit the share button at the bottom.
Okay.
Share screen button.
Share, okay. Okay.
And then that'll share your screen and then we'll be able to see it.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so we talked about this site, and you said that it was sort of the problem you saw was it was an old school SEO site, you were saying. So I tried to implement, I tried to add more text. I looked at you said there were keyword problems, maybe some keyword stuffing in some places.
Yeah, because if you scroll down the page, you'll see there's a bunch of different offers that all look exactly the same with just swapping out, one word.
Okay.
So what
I try to use a template for these different reviews, and I had a couple of writers. I'm trying to gut this site now to try to fix it, to fix any other problems.
So what you might want to do is kind of reformat it to a way that makes more sense. Like your homepage, think of your homepage as kind of like an index page, and it's going to give a link to all of your different content. So rather than having all the same content repeated over and over and over on the homepage, you could have like, here's our top 10 reviews on these products, and then have it list each product with a link to that product page.
What I have is I added a menu this is the home page right now.
Okay.
I added a menu, and here you see all of the reviews popping up here. And this format, I like the format because for mobile, we've talked about mobile, it's very good if you're scrolling on a mobile phone.
Okay.
We talked about engagement, as opposed to, this is the leading site. This is that Diet Spotlight review site.
Yeah.
This is one of the leaders in terms of hits. So the site to be, I guess, a model to look at. To me, I mean, this is the homepage. We can talk about maybe I need to fix the homepage on this site here. But I mean, I don't know. This is so, compared to this is much more engaging to me than this. Insights you won't find anywhere else. Everyone says that.
Yeah.
This is so boring. You have stock photos here. What do you think about that?
Okay, but look at the difference. The difference is there's a big difference in yours and in the way that they're avoiding keyword stuffing. See, you've got all these different products, and on every one of them you say reviews scam 2019. So if you look at that from a keyword density perspective, you're putting review scam like a whole bunch of times. So that's where I'm talking about the keyword stuffing. If
So
you look,
that's the title tag. That's the title tag, and the H1 is review scan. So to get the click through on the SERP page,
it's okay.
that's why I have that.
It's okay to have it in the title and in the description and the H1 tag, but you've got it here on this page like 30 or 40 times. So
right, this template shows how it's formatted is it'll show what the title tag is. It will pop it up automatically. So you think I should change that?
Yeah. If you look at the other site, it will say, okay, you know, these are like the see, it's not repeating the same thing over and over and over.
Okay.
Like this would be, if this were on your site, on every one of these, you would have review scam 2019 over and over and over. They don't have that. So it's much less spammy looking because of that. Just that one thing is much less spammy. The other thing, just the overall look and feel of this site. I know you say it's boring, which it may be, but it looks like it's more content rich, even though it may not be. It looks that way.
Okay. If we can look at a specific review. So this is Hydroxycut Max on a Diet Spotlight. So you see it says, maybe we can compare what their review is and what I'm doing here. So 13 things that you need to know. Here is the same review here. And I start out here with, if you go through this review, it's informative and it's educational.
But
to
even
me,
that,
I mean, go ahead.
That title, though, that 13 things you need to know, that's
right.
an intriguing title. That's.
Does anyone really care about? Does anyone really need to know? I mean, 13 things for the average person. It's just too much information.
Well, it might be, but it's a compelling title. It follows the format of here's a number of things. It doesn't need to be 13. It could be like 3, or it could be the biggest thing you need to know, but it's a compelling title to get you to read it.
Okay. In the beginning here, a lot of it is just standard copy, almost like a magazine or a newspaper. There's really nothing engaging to me with this. Now, you've said a few times that you don't even think you said all of these review sites are doing long articles, that this was the key to ranking high, was to go long with the content. And you said you don't even think that's a factor now. It's more engagement.
It's the engagement. Like what I think would actually be better if you took this exact format here and instead of the content and you put a video in there that said, watch this video for the 13 things you need to know. I think that would be even better.
Okay. On the site here, how I start out the reviews is what I'm trying to do is be informative and be educational, but also be persuasive and also be engaging. So here, if you see, I start out with why girls want to lose weight fast. Now, a lot of this copy here comes from actual customer surveys that I did a couple of years ago for the weight loss pill that's being promoted on this site, the house weight loss pill that's being promoted. These are actual answers from 2,000 or 3,000 customer surveys that I did of actual girls, actual young women in their 20s and 30s. Okay. And they talked about these things. So I've worked this in. Now, does this look like spam to Google? Do they want to see this kind of like comatose copy on this other site? Will they hold it against me if I work in this emotional piece. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to be wasting money. You don't want to waste time on female fat burners. I throw in this picture here. If you scroll down, what are the side effects? Well, one of the side effects is that there's so much caffeine in this hydroxycut max pill that this term caffeine bomb diet pill came up in my surveys, caught my attention, and I've also seen it on some other weight loss forums. Does this look like spam to Google? Is this what they want to see? Or are they going to hold it against the site?
Well, you've got two things. You've got two things of how this could look as far as a search engine goes. You've got the basic algorithm that's just looking at content. It's simply looking at code. And then you've got the other factor of if a human reviews it. And there's two very different things, because humans are going to bring emotion into it. They're going to look at it for how it makes them feel. The algorithm itself doesn't have that ability. It's just looking at code for what has been determined as spam. So if the code factor comes in, they're going to see the spam factor of repeated keywords over and over and over. They might also see the massive text as being
massive. What's massive text on this page?
Well,
this
see how you've got such large font text here on everything, or on a lot of stuff.
Right.
If you compare that to the other one, it's much softer. It's much more like all of e-commerce is looking like this now. If you look at just about any e-commerce sales page or anything, it's more in this type of format. The format that you've got that's what I was referring to, is like old school. It's a very dated look, and it's very, clobber you over the head type of thing. So if it's a manual review and they see this, they're going to take it one of two ways. They're probably not going to walk the middle on this. They're either going to say, wow, that's really powerful, or wow, that's really obnoxious.
So even though, and I told you that the average time on site is 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
So even though actual humans are on the site, which is anything over 2 minutes, you said it's good. Yeah. Even though actual humans seem to be engaged with it, they're on the site for 3.5 minutes or longer. You're saying that doesn't matter? That if a Google human review doesn't like how big the font is?
Keep in mind, you've got multiple factors. That's only one factor. If you have a human reviewer come in and the human reviewer stamps a disapproval on it, then none of the rest of it matters. It's just like in the old days, if they came on and they looked at the site and they deemed it as what they considered a blog network, if they looked at your site and they said, this is just a PBN, this is not valuable content, it didn't matter if the content even was valuable. If they saw it as a PBN, as a way of just gaming the system, then they just threw it out. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying is you have to look at it. There's multiple factors here that could be at play. If you're just ranking on, if they're outranking you, you should look at all the factors. Like go over to SimilarWeb and look at how long people are average staying on those other sites. They might be beating you on all counts. Mm-hmm. And if that were the case, then I might say, hey, let's adjust so we can look more like them. So the traffic that we do get, maybe we can hold it longer. Maybe we can, create those. So you really want to look at where you are in comparison with them and see what the differences are. Because to me, as far as just the look and feel of yours versus theirs is very, very different.
Right, and that's intentional. Yeah.
Yes. So if it's working, that's okay. But if that's the factor that's kind of dragging you down, then you may want to consider testing out the other direction.
Right. Well, this site is only really 6 months that
Okay.
I've put in anything. This site here, this Diet Spotlight, has been around for years,
Yes.
and it has 600,000 hits a month. It ranks for over 100,000 keywords. So
Okay.
to compare this site to the other one, it might be complicated.
Sure.
But you're saying that you're confident that it has to be sterilized like this site? I mean, that you would definitely go in this direction where you make it more unengaging for people.
I would
To make
probably soften the look of it. You don't have to change the content necessarily, other than if I say tone it down, I'm just talking about removing multiple things. Like on your homepage, for instance, the having the same wording over and over and over.
okay,
That I would definitely clean that up.
and visually, this large font, you just think that it will look spammy to a Google manual reviewer.
It has a very old school feel to it.
Now, if you look at this is the National Enquirer here, and I know you've heard this because you know marketing.
Yeah.
Like Gary Halbert used to talk about that the biggest circulation is in an Enquirer, and if you for copywriting, you should study the headlines. Now, what I did was one of the things is I looked at sites like these. It's the same type of a font. I mean, could you consider this spam?
Okay, well,
People might consider.
Maybe
what's the difference?
Sure, no, I get it. Maybe what I'm seeing is just like on these headlines, and you can learn a lot from the National Enquirer. If you look at the headlines here, they're very compelling. Like, this is Brooke Shields. Everybody knows her. She's suing a makeup company. What makeup company is she suing, and why? It evokes a bunch of questions that require you to open it up to find out. So see how that is just a few words, they've opened a whole can of worms. So that might be more of what you need to focus on is just that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay, I'll send this screen back to you. Let me see how to stop share. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hopefully that's helpful. There really isn't any cut and dry, you got to do it this way or you got to do it that way. But what I would say is, you could definitely improve on your titles. And like I said, look at the National Enquirer. See how in just a very few words they opened up a whole bunch of questions that really make you want to get the answers to them.
Okay, thanks.
Can I point out something too? One of the things I heard from James Malinchak is about this guy named Bill Glazer that did a book called Outrageous Marketing. And now James Malinchak does a lot of advertising like that old school look. But he says it comes from Bill Glazer's book, Outrageous Marketing. And he says it looks bad, but it works.
Yeah, and it might.
I don't like it. And I would, if I got something like that, I would just ignore it or throw it away. But he says, that's, I'm kind of not really the demographic to look at, but a lot of people do find that very good.
Yeah. And like I said, if it comes down to like a manual reviewer, if it comes down to Google and they give it a manual review, the person that's reviewing it, it's going to be based on their emotion and their thoughts and their feelings. And they might be one that, hey, they don't like that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that your customer doesn't like it. But if they put their stamp of disapproval on it, it could cost you quite a bit. So again, it's a very it's a very thin line, if there's a line at all, and on what's right and wrong, really. But
so to be safe, if you copy the diet spotlight general look, you're saying that's the safest thing, because the odds of a diet spotlight look getting shot down are.
that would be the safest thing from the perspective of a manual review. Yes, that would be the safest thing. That might not be the most effective content, though. I mean, you've obviously proven.
Okay, go ahead.
You've proven that people are staying on the site an average of 2 or 3 minutes. So that evidence really kind of weighs in your favor of your people probably like it. So what I might do is not go extreme one way or another, but just test your headlines. Try that out. Try just making your headlines more impactful. Have it open up the question of, open up questions that are really pertinent to your audience to get them to read. And if that takes your readership from 2 to 3 minutes up to 4 to 5 minutes, I would call that a win. And Google, if it's based on their AI, they're going to reward you for that. Again, okay. If it's based on a human review, that's a total crapshoot. I mean, that throws all logic out the window.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Can I ask a question, John?
Sure.
You mentioned that there should be a video added. How long should that video be? Should it be a long video? Like they take you in and they bring all these questions around there, or should it be a short one?
Well, my answer on video is very consistent to that particular question, and it is the video should be exactly as long as it needs to be. Like I wouldn't just fill a video with 20 minutes just because you want a 20-minute video. If you've got 5 minutes worth of really, really solid content, I would make it 5 minutes. So hopefully that helps. The length of time, like I've seen Perry Belcher do 45-minute videos that holds everyone to the end. And if you can do that, if you have 45 minutes of content that is just going to keep people on the edge of their seats, I would say by all means throw the whole book at them. If you don't, I would rather get people through the entire video to get them to your call to action, even if you have to cut the time in half or even cut it by 10 if you have to. If you look at your video stats, like we use Kartra for all of our videos, so we can see exactly how long people watch the videos. If people are dropping out of a 5-minute video at 2 minutes, then I would be very persuaded to cut that video to 2 minutes. But again, it's really about the content, and it's about the delivery of the content. Is it going to keep them on the edge of their seat? If you're just rambling and people will lose interest, then I would cut all of that out. Really, with video, it's just like any other content. In the ACT program, I talk about this a lot, is your content needs to be engineered as marketing. Everything that you do should have a point to it. So you're either going to be telling stories to create demand and desire, to create rapport. You want to figure out what's your purpose to the content, be it a video or a piece of text or whatever it is, even images. What's your purpose behind that piece of content? And then fill it up with that. Make it as effective as you can. But the idea is, in content, the first thing you want to do is grab their attention. You want to get them looking your way. You've got to hook them. We use the big idea around that principle to grab their attention. Next is you've got to take them to the next step, which is the delivery of the promise. Typically in the hook, you'll have a promise of what they want, the desired outcome. So in your delivery of that, that's where you're going to have sales pages, you're going to have email follow-up, you're going to have videos, you're going to have basically your sales process, which is what's called a marketing funnel. You're going to deliver those pieces in the right sequence to build their demand and desire for what you have, educate them into how this is the best solution for them, and eliminating their objections along the way. You might have a video that addresses a particular objection. And if you can address that objection in 2 minutes, then the video should be 2 minutes long. And at the end of the video, after the objection is addressed, you want to take it back to the call to action. Because typically, if you're in the sales process and you make an offer and they don't take the offer, there's obviously an objection there. So you can move to the next step, which is let's eliminate the objection and then go back to the call to action, make the offer again. So I know that was a very vague answer of how long a video should be, but it's the right answer. The video should be exactly as long as it needs to be to deliver the desired outcome for you. And engineer every piece, whether it's a video, a sales letter, an email. Don't ever ramble on. Make it as short and concise as possible. Like if you've ever seen, like when I do copy for people, like when I take a big idea or an offer, I will take it down to the very minimum amount of words to really make it impactful. Like I just did, an offer sheet for Paul, and it's almost like you couldn't take any piece out and still have it make sense. That's what you want to get it down to. If you've got stuff that you can take out, take it out. If you take it out and it hurts, then put it back. So.
Thanks.
Sure, absolutely. All right, who's up next? All right, so let me, Gregory, you got something there?
Well, it wasn't so much, it was like, did you get your new boat yet?
No, I'm still working on that. We did a charter down in Cabo, so we chartered a boat for 3 days down there.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We saw a lot of life out in the sea out there, so that's really cool. But what I was going to say, I was at Craig Duswalt's mastermind group yesterday and the day before, and I got to tell you, it has become anything but a mastermind. I'm not really sure what format he's directing it at, but I noticed there was a massive problem, a massive gap in that whole group. And when I say they don't know what they're doing, I'm referring to they have not identified a market yet. And that is truly the foundation of any business, is you've got to have a market to serve. And everybody, I saw it over and over and over. It was a repeated problem. Everybody that got up to talk about their business and what they do, a lot of it was passion-based, but there was no direction of who it was for. So you got to be very clear. I don't want anyone in our group making this mistake. It's a really important thing to understand who your market is and validate that it's a profitable market. And again, I've said this over and over and over, and I'm going to keep saying it at the risk of being mundane, but I really need to make sure you guys get this. To validate a market, it's really easy. Most of it you can do in your head. You don't have to, spend weeks and weeks of research to do this. What you've got to do is you got to look and see, is the market big enough to support my sales goals? And you can pretty much do that right off the top of your head just based on what you know about the market and the world. Is it big enough? Is there enough people with this problem? And if there is, the next thing is you're going to look at segments of, there's going to be segments of this market. And you want to make sure you're focused on the right segment, and that segment is big enough to support your sales goals. So sometimes a segment can be based on a zip code. Maybe you support a local market, and inside that local market, there's going to be a lot of people that need or want your service, but are they in the category where they can afford it? And that's the three things. It's big enough market, it's the ability to pay for the service or the product, and the willingness to pay for the service and product. You've got a lot of markets where they have the money, but they don't have the willingness to spend the money. You've got other markets that have the willingness, they want it, they would easily buy it, they just don't have the money. So, I use the example of lobster. If your product was lobster, it's a huge market, right? Everyone on the planet, well, not everyone, but a big group of people on the planet love to eat lobster, right? So if you're a local lobster vendor and you're basing this on local markets, and you're focused on the 90210 market, that's Beverly Hills, right? Big enough to support your sales goals. It's got people in it that have the willingness to pay for the lobster and the ability to pay for the lobster. You've got a winning market there. If you go just a couple of numbers off and you go to 90010, that's Skid Row. Not very far away. It's just as big. In fact, it's probably bigger. It's a bigger market. But they're missing a piece. They've got the willingness to pay. They don't have the ability to pay. So really, really important that you get all three of those in alignment. Size of market, willingness to pay, ability to pay. If you've got that, then you've got something worth building a business on. And what I saw just repeatedly over the last few days, over and over and over, they were not looking at those factors. And it's like, they're talking about stuff of like, do people really care about that? And even if they do, are they willing to pay for it? It's like a lot of times I'll use the example of water. If you were selling water, bottled water, that's a viable product. It's a massive market. But if you want the most profitable segment of that market, you've got to look at those three factors. The market obviously is big enough for anything because everyone on the planet drinks water, right? But they want the water for different purposes. And this is the segmentation. So just for simplicity, I'll break it into three pieces. You might buy water for green purposes to save the planet, right? That might be one of your segments. You got another segment that will buy water for performance. Athletes, they want an edge. They want a competitive edge. And then you've got another segment for health. These are people that will buy the water for health reasons. Which one do you think will spend more money on that same bottle of water? If you're going to charge $20 a pint for the water, guess what? The people that are green, they're trying to save the planet. They don't care about the planet enough to spend $20 on a bottle of water, right? So it's out the window. They don't have the willingness to buy the product. They might have the money, but they're not going to spend $20 on that bottle of water. The performance guys, they might have the ability to pay, and they might even have the willingness to try it, but it's going to be a really tough sell, at $20 a bottle. But the guy that's dying and thinks that the water is going to give him an extra day on the planet with his family, is he going to spend $20 for the water? You bet he will, all day long. So keep all that stuff in mind. When you're trying to research a market, use common sense. I mean, you don't have to spend your life in analysis to figure out if you've got a good market. Just use your noggin. Think about it in those terms, and it should become really easy. I know Joe's not on the call right now, but every time he gets into a frustration mode with the process, it's because he's diving too deep in analysis. He's getting caught up in, the facts and the figures, and you can spend your life in analysis. So the idea of analysis is really just to kind of guide us into what we should already know. You should know enough about your market to know, hey, is it big enough? Do these people actually have the willingness to pay for this? Is it a big enough problem? And do they have the ability to pay? You can, like, analysis might tell you how many people in your market are homeowners. That's a pretty good indicator that, these people are doing okay. They're owning homes. It might tell you, hey, they're driving Lexuses. So that, using analysis for that kind of stuff to verify and vet things out, that's great. But, use your head. Use common sense. Common sense will go a long way in marketing. And most people forget that. I know it's really easy to get hooked up in passion. I've done it myself. I started a clothing company for sport fishing, for sport fishermen. And I was really passionate about the marlin, the big guy behind me. That's my thing. But the reality of, in the realm of sport fishing, that's the very top. That's the pinnacle. That's like if you're looking for, say you were going to create a clothing line for only for people that have climbed to the top of the highest mountain in the world. It's a very elite group. It's not big enough to support your sales efforts. So it fails the test. And that's what I did. Every time I've based my business on passion and not common sense, I've failed. So what I wound up doing was creating a very expensive clothing line for my closet, is what I did. It wasn't a very good time in life there. But when I shifted gears, I actually went back and I looked at the market. And the market was asking for a shirt with a largemouth bass on it. And for me, that's bait. It's like, I'm thinking in my head, why in the hell would anyone wear a shirt supporting a bait, when I'm going to feed it to this guy behind me? But the reality of the market was, there is 1,000,000 to 1 people that have a lake in their backyard that fish for largemouth bass, opposed to the very elite fishermen that fish for marlin. So when I shifted gears, it was just 6 inches to the side. It was the same shirt. It was the same ink. It was the same artist. It was just a different fish. And when I did that, we went from selling boxes of shirts to selling containers, truckloads of shirts. I basically took almost $1 million loss on that business the first year, because I went down the passion path. The second year, when we shifted gears and we actually served a profitable market, I made my $1 million back that I had lost, and then we were positive. So if I would have used my own principle, or if I'd have been using the principles I have now back then, I would have never made that mistake. And hopefully I can prevent a lot of you from making that mistake too. Learn from my errors. It's not just mine. If you look at business, the history of business is littered with failure. And every time you see the failure, you'll notice it's from one of a very few things. And most of them are based on no foundation, no market. It's creating things for yourself, and there's not enough people like you. Now, if you're creating a product based around a headache, or a major health issue that millions of people are suffering from, that's a different thing. You can be very passionate about something as long as there's a market that matches it. But again, just use common sense. You know enough about the market. If I'd have looked at the fishing market back then with the same goggles I wear now, I would have seen it clear as day. I never would have touched it. Who in their right mind would actually go into business to lose $1 million? So that's my hope and goal, is that I can pass those goggles on to you guys in the process, so you don't make that same mistake. All right, other questions here. I wanted to share that because it was like I was just crawling out of my skin in my seat, seeing all these people just running around like they're chasing their tails. It's painful. I wanted to just grab them all and say, stop. You're about to jump off a cliff and you don't have a parachute. I wish somebody would have done that for me, I tell you. All right, who's up next? Who's got where are you guys at? Where can I best help?
Well, I got something to throw at you.
Okay, go for it.
Well, I've been doing this thing with the training with the kids and all, and I know there's a market out there because I've seen it out there. I mean, OTA, Online Training Academy, wouldn't be in business for the last 20 years in 40 schools around the world.
Yeah.
But the point was, when you were saying about the passion in the market, I've always looked at it as who was the people out there that really could use or want what I have to offer in education and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to change their life, they want to make more money, whatever. But here's something that just came across subconsciously to my mind, and it actually was in truth. Trading is a recipe, A to B, A to C, and whatever. And the other two, about a week ago, and you could talk about simplicity. So here's something for the group that I'm at and keeping among the group is I was thinking of calling my level one training. I'm actually developing into 3 levels. Level 1 training is called cookie cutter trading. The young kids in my group like it.
Okay.
The adults are not so crazy about it. So you and the other people on present, what's your feedback?
I would say for me, from a perspective of I could see why the younger people like it and why the older ones might not. From the younger perspective, the cookie cutter is the easy way out. From the older perspective, they're going to see cookie cutter as not custom. The older ones, I think, are like, oh, I don't just want some cookie cutter thing. I want the real deal. So just from that perspective, I think that's the 2 different views and the 2 different angles that might be seen from that. What you might do is kind of take that labeling and pull that back onto your second phase. Like when they get to the point of where they want to place an order, that's where those levels, and you can label the levels at that point. One thing, if you put the cookie cutter, if you call the cookie cutter one the one for the young people and it's going to appeal to them and it's a lower price, that will work in your favor when it comes to decision time. And the older people are going, oh no, hell no, I don't want that one. I want the big one. That will increase your sales. It will increase your conversion to moving them up into a higher level. Because if they want the shortcut to success, they might skip over the cookie cutter and get to the one that's labeled with power, power and speed and momentum or leverage. Those type of words might be more appealing to people that have more experience. So that's something you might want to do. I think on the front end, though, you want to focus on the desired outcome. You're selling a training program to teach people how to do trading. So you want to figure out, okay, of the people that are interested in that, what's the dream? What's the goal? What's the promise that you could make to deliver that desired outcome? And that's your hook. That's going to be in your big idea. You're going to try and come up with something that's really compelling that conveys that grabs their attention and say, oh my God, that's something I haven't heard before. This might give me the edge I need to actually get what I've always wanted. So that's going to be how you formulate your big idea on the front of that. And then I absolutely love Frank Kern's method of creating a presentation that builds demand and desire. And the first thing you do is you're very, very focused and dialed into the market, the avatar, who you're talking to, and you throw out what he calls it a BAP. That's a big ass problem. and that's what he leads off with. He said, here's the problem. You know, I know who you are. I know what you're going through. Here's the problem. You know, and then he lays out what the problem is very concisely, very quickly. And then what he does a thing that he calls twisting the knife. And he said, and it's even worse. You know, if that weren't bad enough, it's even worse. And then he throws out the second thing. That's what he calls twisting the knife. And then he gives the ray of hope after that. He does that very quickly. He gets through that piece very, very fast. And he said, but lucky for you guys, I have something that's going to overcome that problem. That problem is what's getting in front of you. It's keeping you from getting what you really want. You know, or it's keeping you in the pain that you're in, and it's never going to let you get out of it. So then what he does is he shows you the steps that you need to take to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And he just outlines them very quickly. And then at the top of that hill, that's like a mountain that you're climbing to get to the other side, to get to what you want. And as he's revealing this, what he's doing, he's taking you on this emotional up and down roller coaster. You know, first you're very down, you're crushed by the big problem. And then you're given the hope. And now you're taken back the other direction. You're shown all the stuff you're going to have to do to actually get this done. So you've gone from down to up to down again. And now he's going to bring you on the final uprise, and he's going to basically offer his assistance to either help you do it or do it for you. And then he's going to make the offer. And in there, if there's any objections, he's obviously overcoming the objections as he builds on the process. But that's his formula. I think he calls that the magic model formula. It's very similar to what a lot of people do in webinars these days. Very, very successful format. I have another webinar formula, you know, that's in the training area about how to create the perfect presentation. And it's got some of that in it. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit softer format. But both of those formats work very, very well. In fact, Frank's format is the one that I used when I made my presentation at Glazier Kennedy. And in 70 minutes at the end, when I did the call to action, I had $140,000 in sales from a 70-minute presentation. It was very, very effective. That was following the magic model formula. So both of those formulas are very, very effective. So, but it's all based on a very strategic layout. You know, it's very engineered. Everything about that, it's all marketing. And the whole point of marketing is to eliminate sales, because people will just want to buy. If your marketing is really good, sales will become superfluous. People will just want to buy. You don't have to sell them anything. All you have to do is take an order. You know, if you get to the end and you're just taking orders, you've done your marketing really, really well. If you get to the end and you have to put a salesperson on, or you have to bring in a closer, you haven't done your marketing very well. You know, because two things that's going to do by getting your marketing right, it's going to do two things for you. It's going to get you more sales, and it's going to reduce your cost dramatically, because salespeople are expensive. That's a major expense in any business, is sales. So if you can eliminate salespeople, your profit is going to increase radically. If your marketing can do the sales piece on autopilot and eliminate the need for high-paid salespeople, that's going to make you more money. So those two things, more sales and more profit, that's pretty appealing to most business owners. That's why marketing is so important. I mean, look at McDonald's. When was the last time you saw a salesperson in McDonald's? There's just order takers. They have done their marketing. They've created demand and desire. They've eliminated objections. They've made an offer, and people flock into the place to buy. They just need order takers. So that's why I am so passionate about marketing. It's such a cool thing. It's not an easy thing, but it's a very, very effective thing. And there's a lot of formulas to it. I've tried to lay out identify as many formulas as I possibly can to make it as much of a science as I can bring into it. But there is definitely some art to it for sure. Mary Sue, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say, for the little bit that I heard when Gregory was talking about the program, the thing that struck me the most was it's so easy a kid can do it.
Yes.
Meaning if an adult is hesitating at all, if they don't have any history in doing this, watch what my kids are doing.
Yeah.
And I think that probably something like that would encourage people to step up, because they would feel safe, and they would actually see that kids are being successful at it, you know? So the thing about the cookie cutter, that kind of strikes me as you're just giving people something that says, you just follow this formula, boom, boom, boom. And I don't see that you go into it with a feeling of security that your results are going to be what you want. I mean, you can buy all kinds of trading programs that help you follow the cookie cutter method, and you may or may not actually have good results. But he's got kids doing it, understanding it, taking action on it, and being successful.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's the ideal model for something like that when you're talking about people that are hesitating.
Yeah. That is just such great feedback. And Gregory, you really should take note of that, because that's the third time you've got that exact same piece of advice. That whole thing, it's so easy, even a kid can do it. I think that's probably, if you don't bring that into a part of your big idea, I think you're going to be making a huge mistake. That's really, really good perspective. And we've heard that now from 3 different people, myself included. So I think you got a winner there. Awesome. All right. Paul wants to know about keyword research for search optimization. One of the things about keyword research and whether you should include particular keywords into your optimization is figuring out of your audience what's important to them and what are they actually searching for. There's a lot of tools out online that can give you that information. Like SEMrush, you can put a seed keyword into SEMrush and it will tell you how many people are searching for it, and potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of that keyword and how much they're searching for each one of those. You can also go on to Q&A sites. Like there's a site, I believe it's called answers.com. And if you go in there and you run some, do a little playing around, you can see what people are asking, what questions are being asked. Keywords based around questions being asked are spectacular, because if that tells you your audience has these particular questions, that tells you what content to create for your site. Because if you create that content and then they go out online and they're putting those questions into Google, it will lead them to you. You can be the one that answers their question, and you can be positioned as the authority. It'll also, after you answer their question, it will give you the opportunity to invite them to learn more. That way you can pull them into your marketing sequence. You can start educating them and be the one that is bringing them up to speed. When you get that ability, you get to do something I call setting the buying criteria. When you become the educator, you now are setting the pace for how they need to look at this type of product and what's important when buying it. When you get the ability to set the buying criteria and tell them, hey, don't buy this type of product unless it has this, 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 and this, and the only product on the market that matches that is yours, when they go shopping, they're going to say, oh, wow, I don't want that one because it doesn't have this. They're going to look back and they're going to say, hey, Paul's has that. Well, that's another stack in his favor. When they look at the next factor, oh, these guys don't have that. Some of them might have some of it, but you want to make sure that you're the only one that has all of it. So when you've taught them now how to get the most out of it, how to actually purchase that type of product, all roads lead back to you. That setting of the buying criteria is really, really powerful. And by finding those search terms, finding out what's important to your market, find out what questions they're asking, and being able to create that content, that's like the ultimate in search optimization as far as I'm concerned, because it truly is about content now. It's not just about the words that get searched the most. If you're going about keyword research and SEO in the perspective of the old school, if I just want the ones that have the most search volume, that really doesn't work anymore. All that's going to do is bring you a bunch of people that are not really interested. They're going to bounce off your site and give you bad user signals back to Google. It's going to hurt you. So I would rather take the people that are just spot on, the ones that really are interested, bring them in, show the positive user experience, and that will boost you up in the rankings on everything. So, look for the stuff that's leading to buying questions. Like if somebody's asking, how much does stem cell therapy cost? That would be a phenomenal search term. Because if somebody's asking that question, not only are they interested, they're closer to a buying decision than somebody that is not asking those type of questions. Or is there an alternative to stem cell therapy? Is there an alternative to knee surgery? Would even be better. That doesn't have anything to do with stem cells. That has to do with the problem that they're facing, and they know how much it costs for a knee replacement. They're looking for, oh my God, is this my only option? So figure out what those questions are that are being asked and create content around that. That, to me, that's like the best search terms. And if it happens to be that the exact keyword is in those questions, then by all means, then that means that's the right keyword to optimize for. So if people have questions about stem cells, figure out what they are, and that's your best keywords. All right. Okay, anybody else before we wrap up for today? All right, Gregory's happy. He got some good notes out of that one. I think Paul's happy. He's got his keyword research dialed. All right, last call here. Anybody else?
John, I am available to hop on after the call if you're still available.
Okay, we can do that.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
Oh, another thing I want to tell you guys, big announcement. I just got it as we were on this call. I got the notification that our app has now been accepted into Apple for the iPhones. It's live.
Yay!
So for any of you that are running SitePop and been waiting for that, today is your day.
What's the name of the app?
What's that?
What was the name of the
Oh,
app?
it's called Marketing Assistant.
Okay.
And basically it works with our SEO program to send user signals into Google to show them that you have brand recognition. And if you're already ranking, the tool is made to boost SEO rank. It's not made to create it to begin with. You've got to have your other SEO factors in place so you're actually up and on the board. But if you are, this program has been phenomenal at boosting all of our clients up to the top. Like if they're on page 2 or 3 of Google, this thing that's a slam dunk.
Is that the one with the lamp? It's like there's a picture of lamp. I see a marketing assistant. Is that yours?
Oh yes, yeah, it's got the little light bulb.
Yes, light bulb. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
blue with a little white light bulb. Yep, that's it.
Right now. Thank you.
All right, guys, great. I will talk to you all next week, and we'll be back on normal time. For those of you in the apprentice, if you need to schedule time, I'm going to be in, the next couple of weeks. If there's stuff you need to get up to speed on, let me know, and I will get you fixed up. All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.